Welcome back, QCS Build fans. So, on with the show, and let's get this icy bear of a cooler installed.
Okay, there we go. Now we're lined up. And we got plenty of room to spare, and we should be perfectly fine. Alright, so, now, I'm going to stay. I think I'll find a spot where I'll stay put. Okay. Now we got to put the fans in. Okay, so, alright, so the fans are going to go on the bottom edge, and they're going to be pulling like so. Yeah, so we're going to do it that way. Alright, just run it down enough to where we can get it started. And I'm just lightly kind of running these down to the seat. I'm not tightening them down just yet because I would still want to be able to kind of shimmy this thing around if I need to. Oh, look at that. They gave me an extra screw in case I lost one. Or stripped it, or whatever. That's always cool. That's right. Spend a penny on the customer and they'll always be happy in the end, right? Okay, so now we're going to go back through and we're going to kind of really tighten these down. But we don't want to tighten them so much we deform the fan though, because these fans, they have kind of like ears on them, and so if you tighten them too much, you could end up basically deforming the fan and making the fan out of round, and we don't want to do that. So we just want to get them tight and snug, but we don't want to wrench down on them real hard. You can see how as I put that second one down, it makes this ear kind of bend over. Yeah, we're just kind of running it down to where it just barely starts to do that. And that's it. We don't want to go any further than that because we could crack the frame of the fan, we could break the fan, do all kinds of crazy stuff. And no drags, so that's good. Alright, cool. Alright, now we gotta wire this thing up here. So, oh, one thing I forgot to mention is I ended up taking the front off because where this has to actually face the opposite direction, what I initially thought it was going to have to, it was just going to be easier just to take that off. So to take that off, you have to unbolt the rack mounting hardware, not the handles necessarily, but you do have to undo the rack mounting hardware, and you have to undo one of the handles, and then there's two Phillips / I would 1/4 inch or 6mm hex head screws that hold that in. And so, let's see, let's get the fan, yeah, let's get the fan part of it done first. Alright, so we got that. Okay. Alright, so there's that guy. Okay, so one, two, and three. So these will go into our CPU fan header. The other one will actually go into our CPU pump header. Okay, so these guys, you daisy chain them together. This is for the ARGB. Like so. And then you have one that will end up plugging into, jeez. Alright, so that ends up going there. And then this guy ends up going like this. And so that, of course, that's just holding on to the pins. So what I would highly recommend is taking like a little electrical tape, or even if you just did a little dab, like a very small dab of like super glue and glued it there in there. So then that way, if you had to pull this apart, it's not enough that you would actually end up breaking this controller piece. So, like that. And then, it will actually end up plugging into this SATA header right here. So, okay. Now I'm in RGB fan cable management hell. Woohoo! Alright. So we're going to pause and cut and come back, and in the magic you'll see what happened instantaneously to you, and probably is going to take me an hour. Okay, so we've got this mounted to our bracket, and we've got all this nice and neatly kind of cabled up and ready to go. So when this goes in, it'll actually go in this way like so. And let's see. Yeah, it's actually going to go like that. And that's going to go in here like this. This guy is going to go over here. This guy's going to swing underneath like that. And we got just enough room. Let's swing it in here. Get it in here like so. And I think oh, yep. So actually, moving everything over to the pump side, or to the radiator side, like this. Power connector sticks out right there like that. Be able to plug him in like that. We'll just kind of lay him over there. And then this guy, come over here, and we'll plug in just like so. That'll give us our fans. And then we can just make sure we go in the forward mounting holes, and we're golden. And then we'll be just like that, basically. Okay, all right. One thing I figured out. So this has got to come out. I can't leave it in here like this. And the reason being is because I still got to run all my SATA cables. So the hard part's done, and it's nice and pretty. So, oh well. I just realized, so this, the 1x8 plugs in to these PCI Express to SATA adapters, and they're 5-port SATA adapters. And that guy plugs into this over there. Alright. Well, I'm going to get it cabled and I'm going to come right back and then we'll show you what I did. Okay, so time for the interesting part. So you can see I got this all flipped over here. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to get the cooler installed. So, alright, so Verizon Threadripper. I'm going to put our mounting studs in first. And it specifically says, do not use tools. Do this only hand tight. So, alright. And they get me a misformed screw. Well, that's nice. Okay. So as you can tell, this screw here is not formed right. So it's actually got kind of a weird little lippy edge on it. Well, I can try to fix it with the Dremel, so hold on. Okay, well, I was able to take the burr off, and it's a little, I don't know, you can see it's a little wiggly inside there. It threaded mostly. Now fortunately this is the mount, the socket on this is really hard stainless steel, and this is not. So it kind of self-tapped itself in there, but yeah, I guess we'll keep an eye on it. Oh, there it goes. Now it's solid. That'd be fun if we're getting that out of there. Alright, cool. We definitely might have to use tools to ever remove it. So alright, so okay, so we gotta set this guy in here. And I did read the book, and yeah, that's exactly what this is designed for. So this quick release is designed to go into your any other alpha quick release, so then that way you can actually add this into an open loop later on if you wanted to. So that is very cool. So it's kind of one of those things. It's like, well, is it a AIO or is it a closed loop? Well, no, it's a pre-built expandable AIO that's open loop compatible. That's kind of how I would describe it. So, alright. Okay, so we got this guy lined up here. We've got to get this set up in here first. I gotta find that dang SATA. Oops, I bumped the phone. Give me a second, I need to get that fixed. There it goes. Okay. I need this guy. So that way I can plug this guy in here. There we go. Alright. Because once I get this mounted, it's not going anywhere. So, alright. Now, I'm going to go through and we're going to put our screws back in here. Okay. There's those two. Let's slide this out here. Whoops. I didn't fix you, did I? There we go. Now we're fixed. Okay. All right. Whew. Okay. Now, let's see if this is going to work. So we kind of have a flat side. Oh, no, we don't. Okay, so these interlock like so. So, oh, and they're interchangeable, so it doesn't matter. Okay. All right, so here's the groove. So you slide one side in there like that. Take the other side, slide it in there. Okay. Oh, got my shirt. Not the Thunder. Oh, I put a hole in my Thundercat shirt. Well, that sucks. Well, at least it wasn't one of my blue work shirts. Oh, that sucks. Oh well. Okay, this is one of those instances where their mounting hardware is not exactly laser accurate and true. Well, that's fun. Okay, so not like we can't make it work. I just don't want to completely dink up the threads as we get this thing in here. Alright, so there's that. Okay, so we can tie that up later. That'll come around like this and go to our pump option. Like that. Cool. Alright. Sweet. Okay, so then I really don't like the way that's coming on and off of there. That's okay. Alright. Well, okay. Alright, well, let's see if they gave us enough goop. Hopefully they did. There's one. Really, Alpha? You give me enough to do a standard desktop chip, but you have an HEDT Pro cooler, and you don't give me enough freaking paste to paste it correctly. Seriously? Because that won't give us full coverage. I can guarantee freaking it. I gotta full coverage plate. I might as well use the whole thing, and yet you give me enough to do basically barely a third of it. Seriously? Okay. Well, we're gonna fix that. That's just gonna come right on off of there. Because that's enough to paste a standard Ryzen chip or an Intel chip, an X299 chip, like a 10990 or something like that, but it's not enough to do a full-size HEDT freaking Threadripper or anything like that. I mean, come on. It's just ridiculous. I mean, really? I spent almost $300 on this thing and you couldn't spare 2 tubes of freaking thermal paste? I mean, come on. Fine. We're just going to use some Arctic. We're just going to use some old reliable MX4 because I've got lots of that. That's the last of that tube. And you can tell it's totally different consistency. So I don't know what Alpha's is, but it's thick, kind of like Noctua. NTH1, but not quite. The consistency is a little different, so I got lots of this stuff. So good note. If you're doing a Threadripper or a W3175 Xeon, guess what? It's not going to be enough. Alright, let's try this now. Okay, we're good there. We got enough stuff there. Okay. There we go. Just like that. Alright. Okay, so now, alright, so it says to put the springs on. Over the mounting studs. Like so. And doesn't say anything about washers. So I'm kind of matching them up by feel as far as the thread length goes. Okay. Okay, so then that's going to come around like so. Okay, so, alright, so we're going to momentarily just kind of push this over to the side here. Okay. Well, that's it. That's your Alphacool Eisbaer Pro installed. So, alright. I'm going to clean this up a little bit, and then we'll come back. We'll get our video card in here, we'll get the hyper card installed, and we're going to test it and see if this thing comes up like it's supposed to. Alright, so I'm going to get our hyper card and our 590 installed here. So now you notice I actually took this whole thing apart earlier, and I redid the thermal paste, and I added thermal pads to the memory. So you can see it's there and there. So that is double stacked 2mm thermal pad on this Powercolor RX 590. I don't think it came with thermal pad originally. I'm pretty sure, and which is fine. I mean, nothing says it has to, but at the same time, you couldn't overclock the memory on it because it would get really hot. Imagine that. So I updated thermal paste and added thermal pads to it, and it seems like, and the card mined a whole heck of a lot better. So, but we're putting this one in here instead of the RX 590 that I had, or not 590, the RX 5700 XT Phantom Gaming Edition that I had in here, because with this, the fins are oriented front to back, so most of the heat from the GPU will get blown out the front of the card, and then a little bit will get blown out the back, but then it'll just kind of swirl around and then you get pushed out the back of the case. So that way we don't have a bunch of hot air swirling around in here and having to get sucked out by either these fans, the power supply, and try to get pushed out by the radiator fans. So Let's see. And that's an 8-pin right there. And get a hyper card in here. Now this thing's getting an upgrade. I actually have 500 gig 980 drives coming in for it. 4 of those. Versus it did have 4 Silicon Power 256 gig drives in it, and then one of those died. So, okay, sweet. All right, well, let's fire her up and see what we get. Hey, look at that. It's working. Looks like it defaults to green. Well, that's special. Backplane and seeing all of our hard drives, so that's good there. Okay, so let's play around with this guy. Okay, so mode. Yeah, light just changes the color, that's what I thought. And of course, speed just changes the speed.
Alright, so here you can see we've got our hash, so here you can see we've got our miner running, and we're running our CPU-Z benchmark. So you can see we pop at about 307 watts on the package. We also hit 91C on it, and then it instantly throttles down. And this is on the old system setup. Now we're going to go through, we're going to run the stress test, and you can see that we're at about 290 watts, and it's slowly going to go down because now we're going to start thermal throttling because we're at 91.8. So not bad for an air cooler, but also we are losing a fair amount of performance in doing it this way. So yeah, and if I pull up Task Manager, you can see we're running at about 3.4342 gigahertz. So at 234 watts of total power, and we're maintaining 92.6 C. So, all right, so let's go ahead and look at the new system. Okay, so as you can see, we've already ran our bench test, and we popped 336 watts at a maximum temperature of 93.1 degrees. Now we're going to run our stress test. And we hit 335 watts at 93.5 degrees, and we're slowly come down, but we're maintaining 3.7 plus gigahertz. And we're still maintaining over 300 watts, which is far better than what we were able to maintain with the air cooler. So we would call this a very good success. So we're maintaining 94.5 degrees. So and handle that. Now granted, it's going to slowly throttle as it comes down, but we're going to be able to maintain well over 250 watts of power, sustained power load. So, yep. I'm going to say that is a vast improvement. So, alright. Well, good deal there. Alright, well, if you like more of this type of content, like, share, and subscribe. And we will definitely catch you on the next one. Bye for now.